Let's argue. Hello and welcome to Extreme Gameplays, where I play games stylishly. Today is the day. It's nothing special really, it's just another Let's Argue video. In this video series, I go through the hot takes that you guys leave in the last hot take video, and that's literally it. You just listen to my takes on your takes about a video game franchise. I like to keep my intros short, so let's keep this one short as well, like my dick. So we have the first hot take of the day by Leon the Brother. Hot take: the Norse god of wars are very underrated when it comes to power. Everyone seems to downplay them because Kratos is holding back on them. But Norse Kratos is just so strong that him holding back on them doesn't make them weak. They seem weaker than the Greek gods because of the fact that the Greek gods are more badass, but in a fight, I do think that the Norse gods stand a very good chance of winning. This is actually a very interesting take, but I'm gonna have to disagree with this one. Look, let's take the stream of Captain Cuba that we made a couple of months back, let's get that out of the way. Even though we discuss all the gods versus each other in some in-depth type of way, we explain, the pros and cons of every single god from both mythologies, but just put it in perspective, it's really not about Kratos holding back that makes the Norse gods weak. And besides, no one is saying that the Norse gods are really weak. They are strong. It's just that when you look at it in a bigger picture, I don't know how these guys can go up against the Greek gods. Like we have, I think we had Hades versus Thor in our video back then when we discussed the gods battle and all that. And just look at the abilities that Hades has. Yes, Thor is stronger when it comes to pure strength. He is stronger, but we have Hades with his... Hades is just... he's cracked. I think the biggest one was Thor versus Zeus, in which... Like put it in perspective. Look at what Zeus can do with his lightning bolts, doppelgangers, just a whole bunch of shit that this man does with the not wanting to die. And then compare it to Thor, where he's just strong, he has the power, I guess. He has the strength and all that, but not really a tactician like Zeus. He's not manipulative like Zeus, is what I think. There's just a lot to cover to go through all of this, but I just don't really see it happening. Like, the Norse gods are strong, really. No one is downplaying them, saying they are weak. We all saw how strong Odin was, how strong Thor was, how strong Balder was. Balder was really strong. He punched Yormi out of the ocean. We all know and we all saw how strong Magni and Modi were. We know how strong these guys are, but it's just when you compare them to Zeus, Ares, Hades, Poseidon that was about to solo an entire team of titans. Hell, have you seen what Thanatos can do? This man is cracked. I just don't see it really going on. Even in a fair fight, I don't see it happen. But I am interested in one thing else though, and I'm gonna leave it for you guys to decide in the comments. What do you guys think will happen in a grand battle between the Greek gods and Norse gods? Like, as in a whole full entire fight, what will really happen? I get it, one-on-one we can easily decide which god beats which one, but what if a complete battle happens between these two clans, huh? Just let me know down in the comments. That's all I have to say about this take. I disagree. They are pretty strong, but not stronger than the Greek gods. It's just like, as a whole, I prefer the Greek gods, and it's just I see them as in a stronger light, if that even makes sense, So yeah, let's move on to the next take. Next hot take is a really spice one by Why Not Arctica. Hot take: Deimos would have been a better protagonist than Kratos because of his design. This one is very interesting, and I chose it just to talk about something, and it's just, he is somewhat, right to some extent. Look, the main thing with Deimos' design was the whole, mark. He was the marked warrior with the whole, you see the red tattoo on Kratos' eye and how it covers nearly half of his body? That was originally Deimos' thing. Like, Kratos just did this tattoo in honor of his dead brother and all that, because, honor amongst bros.
Bros before hoes. Why? Because your bros are always there for you.
In hindsight, looking at it right now, Kratos did steal his big bros, or his small bros, design, but I just don't see the stake. I don't agree with it, but it's just very interesting. Like, to think that this whole beautiful design that we all love, and it's just so unique, like, it's so recognizable. Have you seen it in other games? Any other game that just puts a slight red tattoo over a character's eyes and just like continues the line across the body and all that to the arm, just like Kratos? It is so recognizable and so unique, so beautiful, and red is my favorite color, trust me. Not just the red color, it's just how it's structured around Kratos' body is very beautiful. But at the end of the day, when you think about it, that's just Deimos' design. Like, originally, Deimos is the guy with that tattoo, covering his eye and his whole body and all that. But then again, if we look at this whole opinion or this hot take as a whole, I don't see Deimos being better, you know, than Kratos as a protagonist just because of his design. Because what does he have? I mean, he has a baller killer beard. Even Kratos copied that in God of War 4 and Ragnarok, but we don't talk about that. He has a killer hairstyle, but we don't really need hair unless someone pulls up in the comments right now.
I dare you. Make another hot take.
I love my protagonist being bald. It is unique. Like I can't think of any other protagonist that is bald. Maybe Hitman actually, yes, but the world is not ready for Hitman versus Kratos. Let's just move on. So yeah, I disagree with this take as well, but it is interesting. It puts some very deep thoughts into my mind. Deep thoughts. The next hot take by Geronimo Escobar. Hot take: the Blades of Athena are better than the Blades of Exile. Rampage of the Furies beats the Hyperion Grapple. This one is a big no. Look, the Blades of Athena, I suppose you're talking about God of War 2 Blades of Athena, because we have multiple games where Kratos uses the Blades of Athena. We have God of War Ghost of Sparta and God of War 2. Also at the start of God of War 3, but it's the same as God of War 2. I'm gonna take it as the God of War 2 Blades of Athena, and honestly, just no. The Blades of Athena are just, they're very good, especially with their deep hit mechanic. You know, when you hit a plume up close to a big enemy, or even the finisher, the Spirit of Hercules, up close to a big enemy, it counts as double damage in God of War 2. That is pretty insane. Like, for the Blades of Athena, that is really, really good, but that's literally all it has, you know, besides the normal bread and butter, your light and heavy strings, and, you know, mixing both of them together and all that. You are talking about the Rampage of the Furies, but that is, I think you're talking about the air version. I'm sure you should be talking about that, because the ground version is, it takes 30 hours. I keep glancing at my watch waiting for it to end while it happens, but don't even compare the special attacks of the Blades of Athena with the Blades of Exile. Just no. Like, you have the Tartarus Rage, which you can't cancel it in mid-animation, and I just generally question it. Like, why? The damage is good, but it is very risky. I get it. It's high risk, high reward. I like stuff like this, but it's really not optimal to use, even for DPS, for anything. There's no reason to use it. I get the air version, it might look cool and all that, even though the damage is not killer. Again, air Tartarus Rage does not damage a lot, even with the God of War 3 Blades of Exile. It just is good, and the damage is good. That's all you can give it. Good, not crazy insane or anything. That's all that it has. It just has the bread and butter and the, you know, the original bravery where Kratos, the original heavy attack where Kratos swings the blades. I'm sorry, Mike. I hit my mic so fucking hard. Yeah, it has the bread and butter and all that, and especially the only, you know, crazy great thing about it is the deep hit mechanic, where you can hit big enemies from up close for double damage, you know, with the slams. Not the Tartarus Rage slam, which would have been baller, but it's not there. The special attacks are just not optimal to use. The Cyclone of Chaos is very slow and it takes long. The Tartarus Rage has the same thing, and same thing with the Rampage of the Furies on the ground. Rampage of the Furies in the air is good. It's a shredder move. Like, it is very good, but then again, that's literally it. Then we look at stuff like the Blades of Exile special attacks, where you have a brand new, faster Tartarus Rage. You can direct it to wherever you want. You can hold the button and it comes out a little slower, but it deals more damage, and it's just generally a fast move. And we have the air version of the Tartarus Rage, where it's just Kratos the range on this one is very, very good, and it's a perfect setup tool as well. It is very, very good. Like, you have range with this one. It is actually insane. Not even talking about how you can ride enemies in the air if you can balance yourself on top of a big hitbox. Like, look at what I'm doing to this Cyclops. You can stay on top of him by holding L1 and triangle. Like, how is the Blades of Athena better than this? It's not. It's not. Then we have the Cyclone of Chaos, and honestly, do I need to begin? Like, look at how fast and slick this one is. Just look at it. And besides, you know, even later on when you upgrade the blades further to level 3, I think it's level 4. Yes, it's level 4. You can extend the Cyclone of Chaos even more and do it even more. Do more swings if you know you're in control. That's what the Blades of Exile is all about. It gives you control. Like, do you want to extend your Cyclone of Chaos, or do you want to just stop here? You can even cancel with the Rage, but we don't talk about that. And then, man, the Hyperion Grapple. Now, I have a huge bias towards this move. I'm a huge shill for this move, but even without that, like, have you seen how
Crazy?
This move is, I mean, just to have an access to a knockback at level 1, it's the best thing in the world. The fact that you can do it to grounded enemies and to air enemies, and the fact that you can do it if you're in the air to grounded enemies and air enemies, and the fact that you can just use it for such a sweet knockback without any upgrades. Like, what mode do you want? And the input is easy, and sometimes you have iframes on some enemies. The Hyperion Grapple is literally my favorite special attack in all of God of War, and there are reasons for that. It's not just because it looks so cool that it returned in every other God of War after, but it's just, it has mechanical reasons behind why I love it so much. It is very good. It's also integrated into the God of War 3 systems, where every weapon has a special combat grapple. Hard disagree, bro. Hard disagree. I guess when it comes to your normal attacks, you know, the square string is still the same, but even then, you know, the only thing the Blaze of Athena does better than the Blaze of Exile when it comes to attacks and all that is the heavy string. The heavy string in the Blaze of Athena is faster. It is very fast in the Blaze of Athena. The Blaze of Exile decided to go with this slower version. It is still very nice and good and great, and deals great damage, and it bounces enemies multiple times, and it also works. I'd like to make the whole argument of it works perfect for God of War 3, not for other God of Wars, but for God of War 3 it is correct. I do like the other bravery a lot as well and all that, but for God of War 3 this bravery works very good. Like, it's designed for this game, and it works on a lot of enemies pretty good, and you can destroy Zeus with it if you just know how to use it. But honestly, yes, that's all that it has over. Like, even holding square with the Blaze of Exile is better. Kratos is just so fast moving around. You can press triangle at any point for the launcher. Much better than the God of War 2 holding square version, if I even have the footage for that. But you know how it is. Hard disagree. Very hard disagree. The Blades of Exile are just better than the Blaze of Athena in any way, any day of the week. Let's move on to the next hot take. The next hot take by David Oliver Rose. Hot take: since God of War 2 with the Colossus of Rhodes, Santa Monica tried to make again a giant boss fight that also was the stage, referring to the inside of Colossus, something similar to that. But comparing with that Colossus dynamics, they made it too bad with Kronos and the Hecatoncheires. This one is actually very interesting. I guess the main hot take is that after the Colossus of Rhodes, God of War could never make a colossal boss as great as the Colossus of Rhodes, and which for this one I'd like to disagree to some extent. Actually, it's between disagree and agree. Let's look at the bosses that came after the Colossus of Rhodes that were also colossal. I'm not going to be talking about God of War 2 bosses like the Kraken, for example. I'm just going to be talking about, you know, other games that did colossal bosses and all that, especially mainline Santa Monica games. For God of War 3, a fair comparison would be the Poseidon boss fight rather than the Kronos boss fight. The Kronos quote-unquote boss fight is not really a boss fight. It's just a level with a bunch of encounters, and Kronos is just a stage hazard for the first encounter. He's just a stage hazard. You know, he's trying to attack you and all that, but you're mainly fighting the enemies and going through the enemy stages. Yes, you're hitting his fingernail and all that, but you're not really fighting Kronos per se, like the Colossus of Rhodes, which is what makes Colossus of Rhodes the best colossal boss in all of God of War, in my opinion. It is done so well. It's a very nice, you know, mix of gimmicky, puzzly, and an actual boss fight that you actually fight and hit. That's why I love it very much. All three phases. It's just very cool and creative with the arenas and the fight and all that. I've talked about it before. The fair comparison would be in God of War 3, it would be the Poseidon boss fight at the start. You know how we go through the first hippocampus and then the second hippocampus and then finally Poseidon, which I'd like to argue that these are all phenomenal bosses and they come very close to the Colossus of Rhodes, but still not close enough. So I agree on that. God of War Ascension follows the same formula with fighting two lesser bosses at the start and then for the finale, which is just like what God of War 2 did as well. And for God of War Ascension, you know, the first fight is actually one of my favorites of all time. It is very good. It's a big boss done very good. It eases in new player and is very challenging. It is very good. So I would like to compare this first one to the first fight of the Colossus. Remember, I hold this one this high up in my list. The second one is also very good, but then again, I agree with you. It does not make it to the Colossus level of boss fights, but I'm just saying it wasn't just futile. They tried their best. Where they botched it was with the last phase of the Hecatoncheires. You know, with all this zoom outs and shit. It's just, I can't express how much I hate this. It has its good moments, especially later on when you fight them with two of them sandwiching Kratos in between and you don't know what to do and all that, but that's all I can really give to this whole last phase of the fight. Then we take a look at God of War 4 and what it did for the dragon boss fight, and honestly, this one is just, I hold the dragon boss fight in a very high regard. Like the gimmick to it, the battle, the fight. This is actually a boss fight that you have to fight as well. It's not just a gimmick where, hey, throw crystals and then beat up its face. You actually have to fight it at some points in between the fight. It is very, very good. This is one that I never expected the dev team to get right, but my god, they got it right. They got it so good. The dragon boss fight in God of War 2018 is very good. It is not as good as Poseidon in my opinion, and not as good as the Hecatoncheires or the Colossus of Rhodes or the Hydra, but it is very, very close to these guys. It's a very nice fight, but I'm just saying, like, when compared to what you're saying in your hot take, I'm just trying to kind of ease you into that. I'm saying, like, nothing comes close to the Colossus of Rhodes, but there's still some good shit out there, especially with God of War Ragnarok and what it did with the Garm fight. Like, the Garm is a colossal boss. I think we can all agree that Garm is a colossal boss. It's not like the, you know, the Needhog boss where it's just as big of a, it's as big as a, you know, 2 Cyclops enemies. It's just as big as Scorpius, which is the shittiest boss in the world, but not quite a colossal boss. A colossal boss has to be big, you know. A colossal boss has to be something you climb and you do some fucked up shit to beat and all that, and that is what Garm is. Garm is a big colossal boss done fucking right. He's very good. Like, point is, I agree, nothing really lifts up to what the Colossus of Rhodes did, but I think how you put it is kinda mean, I would say. Like, that's right, they are trying to capture the same lightning in a bottle again, but they're not. It's not like they're failing while trying to do that. You know, the colossal bosses that came after the Colossus of Rhodes are still really, really good, as I just noted. So, as I said, again, I agree. I agree. No boss lifts up to what the Colossus of Rhodes did in God of War 2, but at the same time, I disagree. They're not really all shitty what came after. I know they're trying to capture the same thing, but they are always coming close to the Colossus of Rhodes, but it just does not hit as hard as the Colossus of Rhodes. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Let's move on to the next hot take. Next hot take by Ragtag Cloud 56, and here's what he's saying. The world weapons in God of War Ascension were good. They were very easy to use and are actually really useful and fun if you take the time to experiment with them, except the sling, that one sucks. PS, my favorite is the sword. This is one that all people need to understand. Please experiment with the world weapons in God of War Ascension. I really agree with this hot take, because not a lot of people really experiment with them. Like, when people talk about weapons in God of War Ascension, all they mention is the, you know, are the elements that you have for the blades. People are really neglecting these world weapons because I don't know why. These really act like pseudo secondary weapons, especially the club and the shield and the sword. Like, these three are insane. Especially amongst these three, the club is my favorite, like, for the high damage output. Like, it's literally your damaging tool in a no upgrade run plus. The shield is really good for maneuvering and positioning, and you know, the plume with the shield does a lot more damage than the normal plume. We have the sword if you want to farm red orbs, or if you want to just increase more damage, or if you want to loop enemies. Yes, you can do this with the sword. You can loop a lot of enemies with the sword if you know how to use it, and it's the same thing with the club as well. You can fuck enemies up with this thing. Like, if you can just, you know, study the enemy patterns, you can jump over them and land with a very high damaging, you know, blow to the enemy. The club is literally my favorite. It is very good. Then we have the sling, which is also a world weapon, but the world is not ready to talk about this one. It is extremely bad. I don't think I even have footage to try it out to tell you guys how bad it is. Never picked this one up. There's also the javelin, which is, you know, there's a boss fight designed around using it. It's a projectile one, and it's just generally good. Like, it's not the best thing. It could have been better, you know, if it was infinite, but that would be too broken, I guess. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's still really good. Like, 5 awesome world weapons that you can use and experiment with, yet people only talk about the elements of the blades. Please, if you ever give God of War Ascension another try out these world weapons. Like, hell, there's also the discard system. When you discard them, most of them just stun enemies that are surrounding you and all that. Most of them do an ultimate attack at the very end and all that. The world weapons in God of War Ascension are really awesome. I really agree with this hot take. Thank you for bringing it up, Ragtag Cloud 56. Thank you. And now we move on to the next and last hot take of today by Epic Gaming 9824. Barbarian Hammer is better than the Spear of Destiny. Both of the weapons don't have that good attacks compared to the Blades of Chaos, but the Barbarian Hammer pays up for that by dealing a shit ton of damage, while Spear of Destiny doesn't. When I found out how useful the Barbarian's Hammer is, I kept on using it. Remember the Juggernaut enemies? Well, we can demolish them with the Barbarian's Hammer triangle attack. This is one that I'm not conflicted about in any, you know, sort of way, because I view the Spear of Destiny as the best secondary weapon in all of God of War, so that stays there no matter what for now. If it ever changes, I don't know when it's gonna change, but if it ever changes, it will be the Nemean Cestus, or maybe the Claws of Hades, or, you know, I don't know, something from God of War 3. There's also God of War Ragnarok's Spear of Draupnir, which is also good. But the Barbarian Hammer, I don't know. Like, look, the Barbarian Hammer, I do acknowledge the amazing broken amazing damage that it does. I think, yeah, I'm sure it is the most damaging weapon in all of God of War. The Barbarian Hammer does very, very neat and sweet damage. It also has a very good special attack with the Might of the King's Shockwave. You can even do it in the air. It has a shit ton of really cool attacks even at level 1, but when you put it next to the Spear of Destiny, for me, I'm a guy who knows how to use the Spear of Destiny. When you know how to use the Spear of Destiny, when you know how to use it for knockbacks, you know, the shotgun blast that deals a knockback on impact and it deals a half collision in God of War 2, collision scale with difficulty, hello. When you know how to use that to your advantage for ring outs or for, you know, destroying enemies behind by sending other enemies flying towards them in full speed, dealing a shit ton of damage on very hard, when you know how to use that, you will know where I'm coming from by saying it is the best weapon. Especially the fact that you can do the piercing shots, which I like to call the shotgun blast, in the air. This fucking shit knocks down Lachesis. Like, what more do you want? When you know how to use that, you're gonna fall in love with this weapon more than the Barbarian Hammer. You also have the setup attributes that this weapon has, like a simple triangle, the range that it has, how high it reaches, and how far reaching it is. Also, how fast it comes out. It is just very, very good for setting up enemies. You can set them up for Orion's Harpoon. You can set them up for more fuckage in the air and destroying them and all that. The possibilities are endless with this weapon. It's also really good for interrupting enemies. Like, it's amazing. The heavy attacks, the light attacks, I know all of the other stuff are mid at best. You know, you have the Cyclone of Chaos type of attack, which is not as good, but you know, when you put it next to the Barbarian Hammer, it is better than the Barbarian Hammer 1. The Barbarian Hammer 1 just takes way too long until it finishes, and when it ends, it's not even that interesting, really. But overall, if you know how to use both of them to the best extent, you would go with the Spear of Density, is what we like to call it now. The Spear of Destiny has a lot more stuff going on for it, while the Barbarian Hammer only is a damaging tool if at best. It's like, see the God of War Ascension, you know, club weapon. Like, you're using that the same way you're using the Barbarian Hammer in God of War 2. That's literally why you use it in God of War 2. It's just a damaging tool. While you have the Spear of Destiny, where if you know how to use it, you can output amazing damage and knockback and ring outs and all that. And on top of that, we have the setup attributes that it has. You know, launching an enemy this fast and just basically a setup tool and a good tool to damage surrounding enemies. It's good for crowd control if you just know how to use it. So for this one last hot take, I'm gonna have to disagree as well. The Spear of Destiny is supreme. It is the best secondary weapon in all of God of War for me. So that's why I disagree. And with that, we reach the end of today's Let's Argue video. What did you think about the hot takes? What will you think about them? If you have anything to think about or to say about the hot takes, comment them down below. Besides that, comment your hot take as well in the comments, as I will read it for the next Let's Argue video. And wow, what a bridge to the outro. Anyways, with that, we reach the end of today's hot take video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe, because I never asked for that, and I'm very sad that I'm losing views, but it is what it is. I make God of War content, I stream God of War content, I stream Devil May Cry, and, you know, upload some Devil May Cry content here and there as well. So if you're interested in that, please consider subscribing. It has been your Extreme Gamer Zesty. Peace.